Well, hello there, fishing friends, and if you're new here, welcome. Today's video I want to talk about the sounds in RVRF fishing, and I'm not talking about the sounds of the birds and the sounds of the water, any of that. I'm talking about the different sounds that help you catch the fish, the sounds that your reel makes, the sounds that the fish make when you're doing your directional pulls, when you're getting your snap, things like that. So the first one I want to go over is the drag. So let me catch this fish out here. It's a nice big fish. And it'll be, oops, let me get out a little bit closer. And let me come up to that big swirl. Catch that big fish. And the first thing we're going to hear is the fish taking off, and we're going to hear that drag. Okay, that's a good sign. That's just a big fish. The first drag is not going to hurt you. So as we're reeling it in, we're going to be listening for more drag. Okay, that is the sound of too much tension on your line. When you hear that drag there, see I got my line color on so I can see. You can tell when you have too much drag. So if you have your line color off, you're going to be listening for that sound to know that you're reeling too much until let go to stop reeling. Okay, so that is drag. That's the first sound that we're going to talk about. And now we got him in a rage, and you can hear the drag when he's into a rage. If you're on a lower grade gear, more than likely that would have snapped the line, but since I'm on rod and reel A, I can handle that rage and it's not going to snap my line. Okay, now I've reset. Now I'm going to go over the directional pulls. And what I mean by that is when the fish swims left and right, you pull into the opposite direction. During this, I'm going to skip the first two directional pulls so you can hear what it sounds like when you fail. And then I'm going to show you how a good directional pull sounds when you're fighting into the opposite direction of its swim. You should hear a splash at the very end. So when you fail, you hear a ch-ch-ch-ch noise, and when it's successful, you hear a splash at the very end. Now to get a successful pull, what you want to do is you want to pull opposite direction, and you want to hold it back, and I mean you want to pull back like you're actually pulling against it, not just barely moving it. You want to pull back like you're holding against it until you hear that splash at the end. So let's go ahead and cast this out here to that big guy again. Should be about there. Yep. We'll catch him, and then like I said, I'm going to skip the first two directional pulls, and then I'll do two successful pulls so you can see the differences between the two. Go ahead and reel in. It's going to swim. I'm going to skip this first one. Listen. Hear that noise? That means that I've failed that pull. Do it one more time. And I failed that one. Now I'm going to do two successful ones. Pulling back. Hear the splash at the end. Okay. I'm going to let it swim. Pull back until you hear that splash at the end. That was a successful directional pull. Okay, so now I'm going to go over the snaps. The snaps aren't as important as those directional pulls. What happens when you skip the directional pulls and when you don't get those, the fish goes into a rage, and sometimes it'll just snap your line, especially if you have lower grade gear. If you have rod and reel A, you can usually handle a rage, one or two of them, and you're doing fine. If you get too many rages, it will eventually snap your line. And also, if you miss your pulls and you miss those directional pulls, you miss your snaps, stuff like that, it will eventually keep swimming farther and farther and farther away. So if you find that the fish is swimming away from you, more than likely it's because you aren't getting your directional pulls in and you're not getting your snaps in. So let's go over the snap. I'll let you hear what a successful snap sounds like. And then there's really no sound of missing a successful snap. It's just, you just miss it. So let me cast out there. One more swim and it'll probably jump. And there's a successful snap. All you gotta do is just flick your wrist, and if you keep your line tight, that's all you gotta do is just flick flick your wrist to get a good snap in. See if I can get one more in before I get it too close. There we go. See, all I did is I just flicked my wrist to get that snap in. Okay, so now that I've showed you what those are successfully, I'm going to show you what happens when you skip them. Snaps, like I said, snaps aren't as important as the directional pulls are. Snaps, you can miss all of them and bring the fish in with no problem. Sometimes it will rage, but they're just small rages and they're not that big of a deal. It's those directional pulls that you really want to make sure you get. So I'm going to skip everything and just kind of show you what happens when you just skip everything. Okay, there's the first swim. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to get that noise showing that I skipped it. Second swim. Get the noise showing that I skipped it. It should jump here in a second. Goes into the rage, snaps my line. So that's why you don't want to skip those directional pulls, because it doesn't take much, and if your line is already red and it starts to go into a rage, it'll snap your line. So there you go. Hopefully you learned a little bit on this video. If you get those directional pulls in and you get those snaps in, you shouldn't have any problems getting those fish in. So now you know what to listen for when you're bringing the fish in, and how to prevent from losing the fish. If you're getting a lot of snaps and stuff like that, listen to see if you're getting that noise that you're missing your directional pulls, and that noise that you're missing your snaps and stuff like that. That way you know what you're doing wrong, and it'll help you to catch those larger fish, including the sharks. So hey, if you haven't done so already, make sure you give me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It'll help me and it'll help you too, so you can see some more tips and tricks like this in the future. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.